I've been doing Warhammer stuff for about a year, and the following 6 P's are what I've learned condensed down in the most effective way for me to talk about and show off my PP, and to help people find their own PP. I'll be recommending some essentials throughout the video for anybody that wants the no frills, lowest barrier to entry for one of the best, most fulfilling hobbies one can get into. Purchase. The biggest hindrance for beginners, and it's easy to see why. There's different types of bundles and boxes you can buy across all game systems, new or used, big and small, cheaper, and the prohibitively expensive. Sometimes bundles may include hobby supplies or unique game systems to sweeten the deal. Usually people will recommend you get a box of the battle line unit for your desired faction that is the basic troop type for your army, and work your way up to that big mama that you've had your eye on. A great place to start is a local game store or officially licensed Warhammer store if you don't mind paying the name brand prices. These stores should have all the essentials for you to get started and enjoy your purchase. Even though this wasn't purchased specifically through my local game store, let me take a second to glaze this box. The Warhammer Dawn of War Onslaught box. It's a really good box for beginners because of its price for its plastic. $50 for 9 miniatures. You get 3 big shooties, 3 big stabbies, and 3 big bosses. Mini choices and including content make this box, what does it make this box? Piece together. First and arguably most important step to getting on your journey to having a Warhammer PP. The building process can be likened to Legos, especially with some of the new push-fit models. But the difficulty ramps up depending on model complexity, size, and if you want to personalize details with custom weapon loadouts, or aesthetic elements like alternative armor pieces, heraldry. All of that would start here. And to add to the shopping cart, we'll need an X-Acto knife, a pair of hobby clippers, some Tamiya extra thin or super glue, and a sanding twig. Sanding twigs. Platform. This step is also known as basing and is a bit of an outlier from the rest of the P's because it is completely unnecessary. You could just use the bases out of the box if you would like, but for those who want the most out of their miniatures, and in my opinion, the hobby, this is where we craft or 3D print or even buy the terrain that our model is standing on, allowing our character to be grounded in reality. Most folks base their minis just by putting some texture paint on a few grass tufts, and this works beautifully. A phrase I hear in miniature circles a lot is bases and faces. Having an army with cohesive basing adds another layer of tism soothing, and the faces give someone something to identify with. Is that even true? I thought I rewrote this shit. For basic basing, texture paint and grass tufts will be more than enough. But if you want to add some extra oomph to your basing, get some corkboard. Prime. This is the lightning that shocks your Frankenstein's creation to life. Your minis are now alive with color and can now be differentiated from your friend or foe's grey piles of plastic. This is often lumped in with painting, as it is technically, but I want to take a second to decouple the two. I noticed that generally when people prime their mini, they are way more likely to paint it. And this is where most people fall off the dopamine wagon because you could have just bought this cool new, sometimes expensive thing, put it together, and yeah, it's got the silhouette on the box, but it's not a toy yet. And it's not even pretty. All this to say that priming is an important step and not only makes painting faster, but easier and less intimidating, because you've already painted it. And I would recommend getting some black and white primer as well as your base coat color. Paint. A huge appeal of 40k painting for me is that whatever color scheme I choose, it can usually be tied into the existing lore of the setting, so even the painting feels in-universe. For example, I paint blue and red Tyranids. In lore, they're known as High Fleet Behemoth, and they have their own unique characters, battle doctrines, in-universe events, and politics. However, painting itself is a very polarized subject. Some paint so they can play, some play so they can continue justifying painting $50 plastic army men. Some people don't want to ruin their mini with a sloppy paint job. A lot of this makes sense. The models themselves are expensive and can take a long time to get looking anywhere near the box art. Sometimes this scares folks so bad they never paint their first mini even though there are no wrong answers. For these types of people, I recommend going with a battle line box, priming them up with your primary army color, and basing them with texture paint. All the adrenaline pumping action of painting your mini without any real way to ruin it. and you can get some fairly nice cohesive game pieces. Part of the beauty of this method is that anytime you might gain the courage to put a brush to model, any member of your army can be picked up and finished, or just one single detail, painted and done. A way of looking at it that really helped me curb the perfectionist mindset is that painting these minis is an additive process. Sure, you can't erase the mistakes, but you can cover them right up. And let's say you are really the most hopeless painter, or you don't have more than a couple hours at a time to spend and put into painting. The models can always be repainted, stripped, and pre-primed or resold. But that risk is 100% worth the sense of pride and importance you can have tied to these miniatures. This is when toy soldiers transform into a visual epic, with veteran Sergeant Ramis squaring up against the scourge of the Tyrant Star, or whatever you want it to be. Please don't let this be just be for potential. Oh yeah, I would recommend a brush multi-pack. Probably just start with a cheap one, and select paints that you think you're going to use the most. Play pretend. There are so many ways to get play and enjoyment out of your purchase, such as the aforementioned Ps. But the intent is that you'll play with it either within the game system the model belongs to, or in your own invented way. Some people play casually for the aforementioned narrative appeal and watching a story unfold with the characters they have created from scratch. Some want to see those same characters locked in a competitive blitz where every inch and every result of a die could mean the difference between victory and defeat. Some play through display, simply producing a beautiful model and putting it on the shelf to be gawked at day after day. There's something for everything. Usually to play the official game systems, you'll need some dice. Is this an exorbitant amount of money to spend on a exhibition into wargaming or miniature painting? Yes. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry.